BRI tekad to be boosted further to assist MSMEs and the B40 group. Hello there, good evening. Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight with me, Shuhaida Arifin. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim stressed that the government has never neglected the middle 40% or the M40 group. He said the allegation by certain parties that the government's approach was more focused on the low-income or bottom 40% B40 group to the extent of neglecting the middle-income group is not true.
Jadi beberapa langkah kita ambil, tetapi andaian bahawa kita beri pada B40 pun tak betul. Sebab sudah tengok semua sekolah-sekolah menengah sains, MRSM, termasuk Kolej Melayu dan lain-lain. Itu manfaat bagi golongan paling miskin itu sangat kecil, tak sampai 1-2%. Sebab itu saya usulkan kepada Menteri Pendidikan baru ini mengatakan bahawa sama ada sekolah khas, ada mencadangkan. Kalau tidak pun, mesti diperuntukkan 1-2%, 4-5% bagi kalangan yang betul-betul miskin. Kalau tidak, kesenjangan itu terus akan berlaku.
On meritocracy in the education system, the Premier said the approach is important but cannot be the only criteria to be used so that the country's management and governments will remain just. He said both meritocratic and quota systems must be used to ensure that the government is not only helping the poor but also elevating the best individuals. As such, he urged the ministry's leadership, banks as well as the elite group to approach and help those that are facing difficulties regarding the matter. The cockpit voice recorder CVR of the aircraft that crashed near Bandar Elmina Shah Alam last Thursday will be sent to its manufacturer in Florida, United States, to retrieve the last 30 minutes of its audio data before the crash for analysis. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said the CVR was initially sent for analysis at the laboratory in Singapore, but there were technical issues and limitations that prevented the retrieval of the audio recording. Loke explained that the investigation team in Singapore had faced difficulties in extracting data from the memory puck of the CVR. Hence, the memory puck will be sent to its manufacturer and arrangements will be made as soon as possible for the Air Accident Investigation Bureau BSKU investigators to go there.
Prioriti saya ialah cuba memberikan jawapan kepada keluarga mangsa dan juga kepada orang ramai secepat mungkin. Jadi apa sahaja langkah yang boleh kita ambil untuk mendapatkan jawapan itu secepat mungkin akan diambil. Termasuklah menghantar tim kita ke Amerika Syarikat untuk cuba mendapatkan retrieval of that voice data.
Responding to public inquiries regarding the role of the Transport Ministry in regard to the tragedy, Loke said, when an air accident occurs, the investigation of the case no longer falls under the responsibility of the police, but comes under the job scope of BSKU, which is under the ministry. The Communications and Digital Ministry will continue to collaborate with the Election Commission in expanding the voting simulation program at all secondary schools nationwide. Deputy Minister Teo Ni Ching said the effort aims to educate and inculcate the spirit of love for the country among the younger generations apart from raising awareness on the importance of voting.
Ini juga ada buat satu simulasi mengundi kerana kita tahu bahawa umur untuk mengundi dalam PLN ataupun PLU telah diturunkan kepada umur 18 tahun. Jadi sama adalah sangat-sangat penting untuk juga kita mendidik generasi muda ini, pelajar-pelajar kita yang masih belajar di sekolah tentang apa itu prosedur undi dan juga kenapa itu merupakan sebenarnya satu tanggungjawab untuk warga Malaysia untuk keluar dan mengundi.
Currently, the program is only conducted at schools that have the Malaysia School Club, organised by the Ministry through the Information Department with the help of the Education Ministry. So far, a total of 809 schools in Malaysia have established the club. Teo said through the program, the students will be given the opportunity to simulate the voting process, such as lining up according to the voting channel, identity verification, and the method to fold the ballot paper. The Home Ministry will transfer 80 children comprising those aged 18 and below from detention in the Immigration Department depots. Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said that this will be the first batch of kids that will be moved to better premises. Explaining further, Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution said this will be the beginning of the ministry's ongoing efforts to remove children from immigration depots so that they can be given a more conducive environment and a better care than where they are currently placed. He noted that some aspects need to be fully prepared first before transferring the children out.
Kami cuma tinggal untuk menyelesaikan aspek persiapan logistik yang simple, ya. Seumpama memasukkan alas tidur, tempat tidur, dan juga melengkapkan sikit lagi soal logistik bangunan, mengenai pasti aspek dari segi bekalan air, kemudahan elektrik, kemudian beberapa aspek penambahbaikan yang lain, ya.
Previously, Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution said his ministry would shift the detained children and place them under the care of the non-governmental organisations that specialise in children's welfare. He said he already identified the profile of the children, their numbers and where they were detained. Ex-Thai Premier Thaksin jailed after return from exile. Then more coming up in our foreign segment. Former Thai leader Thaksin Shinawatra returned from 15 years in exile today and was immediately jailed, but his time behind bars could be cut short with his party on the cusp of winning back of power. The divisive billionaire landed in a private jet at Bangkok's Don Mueang Airport to be greeted by hundreds of noisy red shirt supporters waving banners and singing songs. Thaksin, 74, emerged briefly from the terminal building to bow and offer a floral garland at a portrait of King Maha Vajiralongkorn as a mark of respect before waving to supporters. More red shirts lined the streets as Thaksin was taken to the Supreme Court. There he was ordered to serve 8 years for 3 convictions passed in his absence, one linked to his former Shincorp company, another linked to a bank loan and a lottery case. But it was unclear how long Thaksin would stay in jail. His return came just hours before Parliament was expected to install business tycoon Srettha Thavisin as Prime Minister at the head of a coalition led by the Pheu Thai Party, the latest incarnation of Thaksin's political movement. The timing of his return, with his party on the verge of assuming, has led many to speculate that a backroom deal has been done to allow him leniency. The Japanese government announced today it has decided to start releasing nuclear-contaminated wastewater from the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the ocean on Thursday, weather conditions permitting. Despite raging opposition from both home and abroad, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced the controversial decision following a ministerial meeting held this morning. Meanwhile, about 100 Japanese gathered in front of the Japanese Prime Minister's official residence to protest against the government's decision, asking the government and the Tokyo Electric Power Company TEPCO to abide by the promises they have made to fishermen. In 2015, the Japanese government and the TEPCO, the operator of the plant, made an agreement with fisheries cooperative associations of both Fukushima Prefecture and the nation that they will not proceed with any wastewater disposal without the understanding of relevant parties. A total of 88.1% residents surveyed expressed concerns over the government's plan to discharge treated radioactive wastewater into the ocean as the disapproval rate of the Kishida-led cabinet rose to an 8-month high. Guatemala's Bernardo Arevalo triumphed in Sunday's presidential runoff, but a bitter post-election battle is already underway, with adversaries maneuvering to kill his party and launch a wave of arrest warrants that could ultimately target him. But while the 64-year-old former diplomat basks in the glow of a victory that seemed almost impossible just a couple of months ago, prosecutors have signaled there will be no let-up in their fight against Arevalo's centre-left similar party. The party was accused of falsifying some signatures when it was formed in 2017. However, since it emerged as a serious contender in late June, prosecutors and a controversial judge pushed to cancel the party's legal standing, though Guatemala's top court has so far battered down the effort. The election played out against a backdrop of right-wing backlash to an anti-corruption drive that ended 4 years ago, among accusations from opponents that those behind it violated Guatemalan sovereignty and abused their power. Thelma Aldana, a former graft-busting attorney general, is optimistic Arevalo's triumph can revive the fight against graft. She praised the international collaboration during her time on a UN-backed anti-graft commission in Guatemala that successfully prosecuted dozens of corruption cases, including one that brought down a sitting president in 2015. In sports, additional road to goal athletes may decide next month. Any additional athletes in the Road to Goal RTG program may be discussed in the Program Evaluation Committee meeting next month. Youth and Sports Minister Henayo said among the topics of discussion in the meeting include the possibility of listing athletes who have booked their slots in the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. Elaborating further on the matter, the minister said the meeting will look into the updates, including new rankings of athletes, as well as listen to feedback from 3 former athletes in the RTG committee, namely Datuk Lee Chong Wei, Datuk Mirnawan Nawawi and Datuk Nicole David. So far, young diver Bertrand Rodriguez is the first national athlete to qualify on merit to the 2024 Olympic Games after entering the final on the men's 10 meters platforms in the 2023 World Aquatics Championships in Fukuoka, Japan last month. However, Bertrand is not listed in the RTG program to hunt the country's first gold medal in the 2024 Olympic Games. Among the athletes listed in the RTG program are national track cycling champion Datuk Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang, men's doubles world defending champions Erja Sowuyik, as well as diving queen Datuk Pandale Larinong. And Malaysia Tonight on TV1 will now conclude to give way to the 63rd edition of the International Al-Quran Recital and Memorization Assembly. Our bulletin resumes on MyTV's Berita RTM channel and also on RTM Click and our YouTube live stream.
76 minit tanpa henti, 76 minutes non-stop. Transparent and concise. Paparan komprehensif, ringkas dan padat. Saksikan Kanta 744, 7.44 malam. Berita perdana 8 malam. Malaysia Tonight, 8:30 PM.
The country's ace men's single shuttler Ng Zi Yong pulled a sensational upset by beating China's Zhao Junpeng in straight sets to book a slot in the second round of the 2023 World Badminton Championship in Copenhagen, Denmark. Zi Yong joins Lee Zijia in the second round of the competition after the latter had disposed Indonesian ace Jonathan Christie in straight sets. In the match played at the Royal Arena, Zi Yong, ranked 22nd in the world, took just 47 minutes to overcome last edition's bronze medal winner 21-19, 26-24 in straight sets. The 23-year-old Zi Yong is expected to face the tournament's 12th seed Ander Antonsen from Denmark in the second round based on the draw by the Badminton World Federation BWF. Meanwhile, 5 Malaysian pairs will see action in the first round today, namely Man Wei Chong T.Y. Kun for men's doubles, Anna Chong Ching Yik Teo Mei Tsing, and Vivian Hu Lim Chiu Sian for women's doubles, and 2 mixed doubles pair Tan Kian Meng Lai Beijing and Goh Sun Huat Siobhan Lai Jamie. Next, in the business segment, strategic domestic direct investment can boost more foreign direct investment. The government will increase its grant allocation for the I-Tekad Social Finance Program by 6 million ringgit to assist micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, especially the B40 group. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said this will bring the overall I-Tekad aid for this year to 10 million ringgit, up from the 4 million ringgit allocated in the budget 2023. Datuk Seri Anwar said the government is committed to eradicating national poverty and bridging the gap between the rich and the poor.
Kalau dah berjaya dengan 4 juta ringgit dana awalan dari Kementerian Kewangan, sebenarnya cakap Governor Bank Negara tak perlu saya tambah 2-3 juta. It's nothing to them. I'm sure dengan keputusan catatan kejayaan satu, keduanya dengan andaian 20 bank yang daripada 11 jadi 20 tahun ini. Kemudian dengan andaian ada lagi dana tambahan daripada bank negara, maka saya boleh tambah daripada 4 jadi 10 juta untuk tahun ini.
The Prime Minister also called on more banking institutions in Malaysia to join the I-Tekad initiative in the near future. He said the involvement of banks is vital as the government will be more confident in terms of the program's efficiency, frequency and impact, with the central bank and other banks joining forces to manage such an initiative. I-Tekad is a patron program created by Bank Negara Malaysia with the aim of helping low-income micro-entrepreneurs to strengthen financial management and business intelligence towards generating continuous income. The government has set domestic direct investment (DDI) as a key performance indicator for growing the country's total investment, given strategic DDI's potential in attracting more foreign direct investment (FDI). Datuk Seri Anwar said the government, particularly via the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, is committed to achieve a good balance between FDI and DDI to ensure sustainable and balanced development throughout the country. In a statement, he said strategic DDI has the potential to attract more FDI because foreign investors usually consider DDI as a benchmark for domestic investors' confidence and commitment towards government policies. Datuk Seri Anwar added that having a more strategic domestic industry ecosystem is crucial for generating more sustainable gross domestic product growth. It will also empower the domestic economy's ecosystem in weathering global challenges such as climate change, as well as various post-pandemic and geopolitical challenges that have led to supply chain disruption and rising raw material prices. The Premier said although studies have confirmed that benefits that FDI bring to the country, it is equally important to further facilitate high-quality domestic investments in driving the national economy and expanding the industry chain structure. The Islamic Digital Economy IDE and Madani Economy are complementary initiatives that work together to promote the development of the digital economy in Malaysia. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil said this is because IDE stood as a beacon of inclusivity, embodying the Malaysia Madani vision for an equitable society that calls for a fairer distribution of wealth and resources. Fahmi explained that the significance of Islamic digital economy cannot be undermined as it not only utilises the potential that technology offers, but also incorporates the principles of Islam into the fabric of digital economy.
Aligning this with IDE's initiatives, MDEC is introducing MD or Malaysia Digital Tasriq, which means accelerate in Arabic, to spearhead industry engagements, validation of ideas and promote pilot projects that will lead towards scale and commercialization of IDE-related technology solutions. These will ripple into a sustainable funnel for MD Pemangkin agenda.
Fahmi said the products and service of IDE provide an alternative ethical choice that can evolve into a new growth engine for Malaysia's economy. Rooted in transparency, fairness and integrity, he said, both IDE and Madani economy serve as the foundation for a culture responsible entrepreneurship. Petronas Chemicals Group Berhad saw a declining net profit of 628 million ringgit in the second quarter ended 30th June from 1.87 billion ringgit in the same quarter last year. Revenue, however, was higher by 8% at 7.11 billion ringgit. The company said in Bursa Malaysia filling today that the higher revenue was largely due to a higher sales volume and the inclusion of revenue contribution from a recently acquired subsidiary, but partially offset by lower product prices. Commenting on the outlook for the second half of this year, it said product prices improved with an upward trend in crude oil prices and restocking activities in the recent weeks. Despite this, the company anticipates margins to remain under pressure. Petronas Chemicals still have to contend with higher operating costs, slowing global economic growth and increased competition from new capacities coming on stream. The group, however, said it remains focused on maintaining operational and commercial excellence to sustain its financial resilience. Bank Negara Malaysia said the Madani Economy Policy Plan requires determination and implementation to free Malaysia from the middle income trap and head towards a high-income country. Governor Dato' Abdul Rashid Abdul Ghafur said the Malaysian economy is at a crossroad and today's economic and financial policies will determine the direction and trajectory of the country's development in the future. Commenting further on the matter, Dato' Abdul Rashid said the gap between the rich and poor is widening and it needs to be addressed and balanced with the development of a society that is inclusive, fair and equitable that maintains social integrity. He said BNM aims to develop a progressive, robust, transparent and responsible financial sector and be able to contribute to more fair, equal, meaningful and inclusive progress for the people. He also said the I-Take-Up program was developed by highlighting social finance as an important component of the financial ecosystem in Malaysia to catalyse a more balanced socio-economic development. Since its launch in 2022, the I-Take-Up initiative has now grown to include 11 financial institutions, more than 50 implementing partners, and has benefited more than 3,000 participants. The Governor explained that I-Take-Up has mobilised more than 40 million ringgit in social finance funds so far and has provided significant benefits to its participants. Meanwhile, Bank Negara Malaysia's international reserves amounted to $112.2 billion as at 15 August, compared with $112.9 billion as at 31st July. The central bank said the reserves position was sufficient to finance 5.2 months of imports of goods and services and was one time the total short-term external debt. In a statement released today, BNM said the main components of the international reserves were foreign currency reserves, international monetary fund reserves position, special drawing rights, gold and other reserve assets. Meanwhile, it said total assets stood at 624.28 billion ringgit, comprising gold and foreign exchange and other reserves, including special drawing rights worth 525.53 billion ringgit. Malaysian government papers 12.84 billion ringgit, loans and advances 23.71 billion ringgit, land and buildings 4.14 billion ringgit, and other assets 58.05 billion ringgit. BNM added capital and liabilities include paid-up capital, reserves, currency in circulation, deposits by financial institutions, federal government deposits and other deposits, Bank Negara papers and allocation of special drawing rights. The UN currency weakened yesterday as China's surprising decision to keep the key mortgage pricing benchmark interest rate unchanged, while cutting banks' one-year lending rate fueled concerns over lack of support for its ailing property sector. The spot yuan opened at 7.2946 per dollar and weakened to 7.3067 by midday, 212 pips weaker than the previous late session close and 1.50% weaker than the midpoint. China had cut banks' one-year loan prime rate by 10 basis points to 3.45% as expected, but it surprised the market as the 5-year rate was left unchanged at 4.2%, which left investors disappointed. The decision also defied analysts' expectation for a big cut in the 5-year rate, which influences the pricing of mortgages, as it was seen as much-needed move that could spur credit demand and shore up the property sector. Meanwhile, the head of an influential European business lobby in China said that Beijing needs to send a clear message on how it plans to revive its economy and provide clarity on the national security crackdown that is unnerving the foreign business community. The world's second-largest economy grew at a frail pace in the second quarter, prompting top leaders to promise further policy support and analysts to downgrade their growth forecasts for the year. Jens Escalon, president of the European Chamber of Commerce in China, said there's a doubt about where China is going, so it is a matter of urgency for the uncertainties to be addressed. China's prolonged economic slowdown this year comes amid weakening demand, both at home and globally, a property crisis and rising unemployment. The sluggish growth also has coincided with increasing state intervention in the private sector in recent years, with crackdowns on the tech, education, health and due diligence sectors and increased scrutiny of foreign business links. At the same time, leaders have vowed more support for embattled private entrepreneurs and called for more overseas investment, but confidence remains low. European Union Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis is due to visit Beijing next month, where he is expected to push for greater market access for EU firms and address the EU's widening trade deficit with China. At the forthcoming 15th BRICS summit to be held in Johannesburg of South Africa, leaders from member countries Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa are expected to discuss the BRICS group's expansion. South Africa said that more than 40 countries have expressed interest in joining the BRICS group and more than 20 countries have formally approached BRICS countries to become full members. According to data from the International Monetary Fund (IMF), BRICS countries' GDP as a proportion of global GDP increased from 8.4% in 2001 to 25.8% to 2022, while in the same period that of G7 countries' GDP decreased from accounting for 64.6% of global GDP to 42.9%. According to data published by the UK-based economic research firm Acorn Macro Consulting in March, the GDP of the BRICS countries surpassed that of the G7 countries in terms of purchasing power parity in 2021. And that wraps up Malaysia Tonight. A reminder of our top story, cockpit voice recorder to go to US for data extraction. I'm Syuhada Arifin. Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan penuhi harapan. Have a pleasant evening.